Hello and welcome to Luis Enrique's press conference. The first question is about tomorrow's game with Deportivo, who are very high in the table at the moment, and it's your last game before going to Japan. Well, we're very cautious about the game, not only because Depor are sixth in the table, they've only lost one game away from home, so some very good stats. This last 2 days, we've been analysing them and we've realised what a dangerous team they are, very strong both in defence and attack. And there are certain circumstances around the game that are going to cause lots of difficulties. It's nothing like the Deportivo of last season, even though the manager is the same, a lot of the players have changed. And it's probably the team that surprised me most so far this season. So we've got to get around this game by playing good football, creating goal-scoring chances. But it's a very physically intense team that we're playing. It's a team I like a lot. Asking about Leo Messi, images of him perhaps having a bit of trouble with his hamstring. Okay, here we go with the routine questions of always. No, Leo Messi is perfect fine. Nothing wrong with him at all. Talking about Valencia, the draw the other day, the 2 points that were dropped, and whether perhaps the players are being a little bit distracted because of the Club World Cup coming up. That's an added danger to this game. Obviously, we have an attractive objective ahead of us, the Club World Cup, but it would be very sad if we weren't to do our homework. I think the fans will play an important role in that aspect to help us to get through this game, supporting us when perhaps we're having difficulties in the game, and we are going to have difficulties because of what a good side Deportivo are. So I hope the fans can particularly help us tomorrow through the difficult moments. There's that communion between us and the supporters, and hopefully that's going to push us through the game and get the 3 points to put us in perfect condition for going to the Club World Cup. Always defended Sandro and Munir publicly. Talking about their level of confidence generally, I always defend my players. Sometimes you might want to say other things, but no, that's not a question with Munir or Sandro, of course. But I can only really say positive things about Munir. That's what I think. I'm giving them time when I can do. Perhaps this season it's been quite difficult to give them responsibilities because of the pressure involved. But those are two players that are always going to improve. They are, and I'm very happy with their performances. You don't often call on the supporters, but you've just done that. Last year you did that before the game with Valencia. So do you think perhaps tomorrow is going to be perhaps a more difficult game than expected? Well, yes, because we're playing against a very difficult opponent tomorrow. Because of the way Depor create pressure, and they're a team with a lot of conviction, and you just look at their stats. And because we've got the whole thing of Japan coming up, so that is a bit of a distraction. We do have to try to keep our focus on the game tomorrow against a difficult opponent. Last year, a somewhat inferior Depor managed to get a draw with us, and this year it's a much better side. They're very strong in defence. They changed their system a lot. They don't give you a lot of space. The players play for each other. They've got Luis Perez up front who can score. As a Barca manager, I'm thinking, well, this really isn't the kind of team you want to play before having to go to Japan. So we're going to have to be on our top form tomorrow. We're really going to have to focus and show that we're a better side than the opposition. I think we are, but we need to show that on the field. Asking about Sergi Roberto, his ankle injury, and whether that might have interrupted his sweet moment. No, I don't think. I don't think that it's going to change his spirits. That's part of football. You take knocks like that, you have to put up with them. Sergio Roberto is a top quality player. Asking about Neymar and the fact that he may well miss the Club World Cup, which is a tournament he's particularly excited about because he lost the final with Santos against Barca. Any injured player is going to be upset. It's always a tough blow for any player. And the doctors go giving you information and you start finding out about your recovery process. But generally, he's okay. Back to Sergi Roberto again, his confidence. And if he can perhaps comment on his recovery situation. And in midfield, we've particularly had trouble this season. Rafa, Sergi. It's always been a difficult area of the pitch, so it's very good news that he's recovering. Jeremy Mathieu as well. Sergio Roberto is a very versatile utility player that you can use in a lot of different positions. He's a player that can support the attack. He drops back as well into defence. Reads the game very well. Reads how to create pressure. He's an essential player to have. And that's just the start of his many virtues. You never really complained about kick-off times, but a lot of games at 4 o'clock recently. Are you surprised about that? And also pretty much right on the back of the trip to Leverkusen. Now you're going straight into another game. Well, then after what we had in the Spanish Super Cup, when we pretty much had to come off the pitch and then go off and play Bilbao, so the European Super Cup. Sorry. Well, there you go. Tomorrow's at 4 o'clock. No problem. Asking about the Club World Cup, Argentinian journalist asking. River Plate, of course, playing in it. River, they're already in Japan. Is that an advantage for them? Because they've had more time to adapt to time change. Yes, of course. It's preferable to be as many days in advance as possible, but we have our European fixture list that doesn't allow for that. So let's hope it doesn't make a difference. And at the end of the day, it's 11 against 11. The players are used to playing, and he understands there's going to be a lot of Barca fans in Japan. Talking about Neymar again in Japan, whether he'll be able to go. I'm always optimistic, but the most important thing is for the player to recover fully and properly. I understand that the player is particularly excited about the possibility of going to Japan, but for me, the most important thing is for him to be 100% fit. Obviously, I'd like everybody to play, But I'm not talking about the final yet because we have to win the semi-final first, and people are already talking about us being in the final. But there have always been surprises in football, so let's just take things step by step. Talking about your messages to the supporters, the danger of tomorrow against Deportivo, and how important is it to be able to go to Japan knowing that you're top of the league? Because obviously there's going to be one week where Barca won't be playing, which gives the other teams to pick up some points. Well, that all depends on what games you've played. What we just have to do is play the games that we've got and before going to the Club World Cup. If other teams have played one game more or move ahead of you, well, great for them. But the important thing is when we've played the same number of games. What we do want to do is to win the game that we've got before we go to Japan. Then, well, let's wait and see what the other teams do. I can't influence those games. I can only influence the games that we play ourselves. Asking about Alves, who's been used a lot this season, and if he's surprised about what a good season he's having and perhaps what he contributes as a veteran to the team. Absolutely not a surprise to me. I know him very well. He's the kind of player that loves training every day. He's a true professional. He's got so much energy. He trains 100%, 1,000%. And he's got such a strong personal quality as well. He's so good at putting up with pressure. It's great news to have him in in the team last season and this season too, playing at his level, which is a very high level. Do Barca have a lot to lose and little to win in the Club World Cup? People can interpret things as they want. We've got the same to win, the same to lose. We're off there to compete. About Real Madrid and their Copa del Rey situation, there's a meeting at the moment of the Court of Arbitration. Would you be surprised if they were allowed to continue in the tournament? And Luis Enrique has said that he's not going to comment. He made his comments on this last week, and he's nothing further to add. Talking about apparently at Real Madrid, the youth team was shown the 4-0 Barca win. The Madrid youth teams are something for them to learn from, and whether Luis Enrique might suggest doing the same thing if the result had been the other way around. I'd rather not comment on this because I don't know if this is a true story anyway. So probably better if I just stay out of this in case people interpret things and generate some kind of controversy. Though that's the end tomorrow. The squad will be announced as Deportivo. Oh, apparently someone's got a question to ask here. Sorry, we thought that was over. Is this a question about Neymar? Just thanking him for staying this particular question. He'd like an evaluation of Neymar's performances so far this season and how he's doing in European football. Look, very, very positive, as you've just said. But last season in his first year here, 2 years ago, yeah, he's always been playing very top quality football. His second season, he set some fantastic stats, and you can see that he's continuing to contribute a lot. He's adapting very well to what this particular team needs. He's a magical player who's going to go down in football history. And as well as everything he does for the team, he also scores goals. So I'm very happy with what Neymar has done, is doing, and will do. What Barca lose tactically without having Neymar in the team? There are always important players who are injured, sometimes less important, but it's bad news. Whoever's injured, what do we lose without Neymar? Well, obviously, a lot of things. Individually, it's hard to compare players like him to other players, but the team has to find different solutions and to try to make his absence noted as little as possible. It's a question of looking through a global prism and adapting the whole team to his absence. Okay, now that is the end of the press conference. Tomorrow the team will be announced. And at 4 o'clock tomorrow, Central European time, it's Deportivo La Coruña at the Camp Nou. Thank you very much for listening.